I believe we can get started, correct?
Yeah. Yes, sure.
Okay. Thank you very much. So good morning and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this webinar organized by BEBA and EBCC. Unfortunately, His Excellency Dr. Amr Talat was called for an urgent meeting with the Prime Minister, so he will not be able to join us today. But I'm very happy to announce that we are joined by Dr. Golestan Radwan, advisor to the Minister for Artificial Intelligence. We're also honored to be joined by Emma Wade-Smith, OBE, Her Majesty's Trade Commissioner for Africa in the Department of International Trade. The session will discuss opportunities for the UK companies in digital transformation of domestic industries, design, development, and manufacturing. I will be moderating the session, and my name is Hoda Mansour, and I'm the Managing Director for SAP in Egypt and New Frontiers countries. We're very thankful for the sponsors who are supporting us today. I would like to recognize the Egypt Week sponsors, Benya, EFGRMS, HSBC Bank Egypt, and SAP. I will now leave the floor for Dr. Sally Radwan to deliver her speech. Sally, over to you, please.
Thank you very much, Hoda. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone, depending on where you are. As Hoda said, I have the pleasure of conveying the greetings and apologies, of course, of His Excellency Dr. Amr Talat, who was called for an urgent meeting and couldn't be here today. But it gives me the opportunity to address you, which is great. Let me share my screen, and I hope you can see it shortly. I just have a very short presentation today to talk to you about some general aspects of ICT in Egypt, but of course I'll then use the opportunity to focus on my own area of AI. And I also have to apologize for leaving a little bit early because incidentally today is the Paris Peace Forum, and we're presenting one of our AI projects there, which I'll talk to you about in a minute. Right, so at MCIT, what actually we're very proud of is that we're the highest growing sector in Egypt. At the moment, the sector is worth about 108 billion Egyptian pounds, up from 93 last year. We have around 4.4% GDP contribution. We're projected to grow by 16% in the coming year as well, making us again the highest growth sector. And the total ICT investments are up from 35.4 billion pounds last year to 48.1 billion pounds this year, with a growth rate of 35%. So it's quite an ambitious sector, quite a fast growing one. And we operate under the mantra of Digital Egypt. That's what we're all trying to build. And under this umbrella, if you will, we work along 3 pillars and 3 enablers. The 3 pillars are, of course, digital innovation across all sectors, and we'll focus on AI today, digital skills and jobs, and digital transformation, especially in government. Enabled by, of course, creating an inclusive digital economy, a secure and resilient ICT infrastructure, and of course, the governance and legislative framework that will allow the strategy to operate and to be sustainable. Now, if you talk a little bit about AI, so the AI strategy is, of course, derived from the overall MCIT strategy, where we focus on capacity building being the cornerstone of any strategy. We focus a lot on innovation and applied research, and we'll talk about that in detail today. And of course, we want to make use of ready-made technologies, some mature solutions in strategic sectors, so we're open to deploying those as well, especially in government. All of this would not have been possible without the massive effort that the country's been undergoing for the past 3 or 4 years in digital transformation, which has resulted in a base of cleansed and secure data that we're able to use for AI applications. Something that just happened last week or so, the AI Readiness Index for 2020 just came out, and Egypt made a huge jump from being ranked 111th last year to 56th this year, so jumping 55 places, which is something we're very happy about, but of course not satisfied with, and we're hoping to make even better improvement next year. Just briefly on capacity building, we operate a pyramid structure, of course, starting at the very bottom with awareness programs for the general public, but also for people who kind of have some aspects of technology that they have to use in their jobs, but don't necessarily need to be technical experts. And then climbing up the pyramid in kind of the value of the jobs from a technology perspective. Of course, it might be a high value job, but low on technology. So we have different tiers and different programs. As you can see, most of them are with the private sector, where we have these partnerships that enable us to train a large number of Egyptian youth. This year, we're aiming to train around 46,000, and the plan is to double them next year. So it's a very, very aggressive growth strategy. On the innovation and applied research side, or what we like to call AI for development, to emphasize that in Egypt, we don't just do AI for the sake of doing AI. We do AI because we want it to help achieve Egypt's development goals. And we do this mainly through partnerships. What you can see at the bottom, the picture is actually of the planned innovation center that we're currently building in the new administrative capital in the knowledge city. And it will house many of these projects, but of course we also execute through different arms within the Egyptian government at large, not just the ministry. For the first phase of the strategy, we've identified a number of sectors of priority that we want to focus on for AI applications. Agriculture, incidentally, the project that I'm presenting at the Paris Peace Forum in about half an hour is an agriculture project. It's a project that calculates the exact amount of water required for irrigation for any plot of land, which of course, you know, water shortage in Egypt is a massive problem, as it is in many parts of the world. And AI is quite a useful technology to deploy there. So those of you who will be at the Paris Peace Forum later today or maybe tomorrow, feel free to come by and check out our booth and at our project. It's actually quite an interesting one. Other sectors of focus include, of course, healthcare, environment, water management, as I said, macroeconomics, specifically deploying AI to have accurate macroeconomic forecasts, and planning. And then NLP, natural language processing for Arabic, Egypt being the country that it is with its rich cultural heritage, we have to be leaders in NLP. And the flags up there, unfortunately no UK yet, but these are some of the countries that we're actually partnering with, either on the government or on the private sector level. And we'd love to add some companies from the UK to this, and we'll get into the partnership model in a minute. Other AI efforts on the global stage with international organizations. So we work a lot with UNESCO. In fact, we're the vice chair of the expert group that's currently drafting UNESCO's recommendation on the ethics of AI. We're part of the One AI expert network at the OECD, and we participated in the drafting of their AI principles last year. On the African and Arab levels, we're also taking a leadership role where we proposed to unify African and to unify Arab efforts on AI. First, in terms of forming a unified stance on issues such as ethics, education, and so on, but also in terms of unifying efforts in terms of projects and collaboration. So we're building together joint capacity building frameworks, and also exploring projects that we can roll out at a large scale. With the organization of the Francophonie, we're also working with them on their AI strategy based on the model that we have in Egypt. And with the ITU, we're also quite active, where we're a member of several of their focus groups, and we actually participated in their AI for Good summit last week. Just to get into kind of the model. So what we always say is we're trying to build an AI industry in Egypt with all the aspects that such an industry requires. Of course, everything starts with capacity building, and as you've seen, we've got quite a few ambitious programs. We move from that to projects that we either lead as government, but we also partner with technology companies all over the world, as you've seen, lots of partnerships to develop projects of mutual interest that also serve to achieve Egypt's development goals, or of course the private sector by itself. But once people have gone through the process of developing a few AI projects, they are then job market ready and can go into the private sector, thereby increasing the size of the ecosystem, which is of course the cornerstone of building any successful industry. As you can see, there is quite a lot of emphasis on partnerships, either for capacity building programs. So we're talking about academic and industry partners for our capacity building programs. We're talking about technology partners for our AI for development projects. And of course, growing the ecosystem at large, whether it's enabling startups, building bridges between academia and research and industry, and so on. And of course, all of that is enabled by the enablers we talked about, be it the infrastructure, the data, or the governance framework. Just to end, so I don't take too much time away from Emma, partnerships in our mind can take many forms. The way we prefer to partner, of course, there is always the direct deployment of a mature AI solution in one of these fields, the strategic sectors that I mentioned earlier: agriculture, water management, environment, healthcare, economic planning, NLP for culture and tourism applications, and so on, and also infrastructure and manufacturing. But the way we prefer to partner is through co-development. So we define together a problem that we want to solve that is both beneficial for Egypt and for the technology partner, and we strike an agreement by which we both contribute resources towards the project. And we create a pilot together that we deploy somewhere in Egypt. And then we strike a commercial agreement by which we get to use the solution in Egypt, and the technology partner has the right to market it worldwide. So it's usually, it's a win-win for both sides that works quite well. We benefit from, of course, educating our people, building capacity within the country, growing the IT industry and the AI industry specifically. And of course, the partner benefits from creating a new solution that is relevant to a part of the world that maybe they haven't been active in before, and also benefiting from our leadership position in Africa and the Arab world, where we can roll out successful projects across the entire region. Of course, we're also open to partnering on capacity building programs, everything from general awareness all the way to very specialized courses to produce technology experts, whether it's researchers, developers, data scientists, whatever the role may be. And of course, we're also happy to discuss, like I said, large-scale projects on the Pan-African and Pan-Arab level. That's just a very quick overview. I hope I can stay for a bit of the Q&A, but I'll hand back over to Hoda. If you want to get in touch or find out more information, this is our website, and this is the email address you can use. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sally, for the very nice presentation, concise and to the point. We're really proud with the advancements that we see in Egypt and the ICT sector. I'm personally proud to be part of this sector and working in that sector, but the numbers that you have provided in terms of growth, in terms of the projected growth for next year, in terms of the advancement on the AI ranking is something that we all should be very proud of. So thank you once again for the inspiring presentation. I will now hand over to Emma to take us through her speech, and then we'll leave the remaining of the session for Q&A. Thank you very much, and over to you, Emma, please.
Great, thank you very much. And I'm going to try and condense my remarks so that we get a good chance for Dr. Radwan to answer some questions as well, because I thought that was a fantastic presentation, and I think really speaks to the heart of how exciting this sector is. So thank you so much for allowing me to be part of today's session, which is of course part of the UK Egypt's wider virtual week of events, really to celebrate the breadth and the depth of the commercial relationship that we have between our two countries. And let me, of course, thank our hosts, the British Egyptian Business Association and the Egyptian British Chamber of Commerce. I think we so value the relationship and the partnership that we have with you. And I'm very conscious through my own personal experience as well of just what a tremendous job you're doing to really promote the commercial relationship between Egypt and the UK. So we really do value that friendship that we have with you. So thank you. Look, as we've heard in that brilliant presentation, the core business today really is around thinking about the ICT sector in Egypt. But what I wanted to do is just paint a little picture of the strength of the UK-Egypt commercial bilateral relationship first, and then we can kind of dig into the ICT sector in particular. So we have I would describe the trade and investment relationship between Egypt and the UK as a vibrant one. £3.4 billion sterling of trade, to be more precise. How do you describe vibrant? And increasing around 8% over the last year, pre-COVID. And we've also got UK companies who continue to be really strong long-term investors in Egypt. And that has really helped to drive Egypt now being, I believe, the largest recipient of foreign investment on the African continent. This decade alone, UK companies have invested over $47 billion into Egypt. Now, much of that figure has classically come from substantial investments by the likes of BP and Shell, really helping partner with Egypt to become a regional energy hub. But we are also working together to support Egypt's ambitions to build a cleaner, greener economic future. And technology really sits at the very heart of those aspirations. As with so many things, Egypt is, of course, leading the way in its region, and we were absolutely delighted when Egypt has its first ever sovereign green bond listed on the London Stock Exchange just a few weeks ago. And that's going to raise somewhere in the region of $750 million to support Egypt's green future. And that, I think, is really exciting. Further evidence of this sort of green recovery is around some of the investments that we saw coming through the UK Africa Investment Summit held in London in January this year. Egypt really stole the show. Don't tell anybody else, but Egypt stole the show there with somewhere in the region of 1/5 of the deals on the day that were announced, which were north of £15 billion. 1/5 of those came to Egypt. And Actis, for example, was a great example of what we've been doing. So there at that summit, Actis signed a memorandum of understanding with Egypt's sovereign fund and pledged £3 billion sterling, so I think around 65 billion Egyptian pounds of new investment into a number of Egyptian projects. So I think it really, for me, it demonstrates the power and the draw of Egypt's economy, and just the range and the breadth and depth of what we're doing. We were very honoured when President Sisi came to that summit, along with some of his key cabinet ministers. He gave a keynote speech at the event. And through his visit and his meetings with senior people on our government side, we saw announcements of significant new investments as well in strategic sectors such as healthcare, education, infrastructure, manufacturing and energy, all of which you can see a multitude of ICT solutions being embedded as a key part of delivering our ambitions there. So recognising the strength of the opportunities that we see in Egypt, the UK's export credit agency, UK Export Finance, has actually recently doubled its market risk appetite for Egypt, which now sits to somewhere in the region of £2 billion sterling. And as a further sign of our confidence in the opportunities that exist across a number of areas in Egypt and that pipeline, we are recruiting a UK export finance officer who's going to be located in Cairo to really help us drive our trade and investment ambitions between our two countries. So I think Egypt's exciting economic growth and its dynamic economic reform programme over recent years have really helped to spur the growth of our business relationship and create more opportunities. And, you know, our businesses working together are creating and sustaining jobs, and they're helping with Egypt's economic growth in line with President Sisi's priorities. And we've heard, you know, energy, infrastructure, education, financial services, healthcare, and of course, crucially, ICT. And as one would expect of such good partners, we have worked really closely together across our business communities during the COVID-19 pandemic. We have helped one another, providing essential PPE supplies in both directions. And we've seen UK investors really playing a part in the response to the pandemic. So, for example, we've seen GlaxoSmithKline donating hand sanitizer and medicine. We've seen BP delivering medical equipment, Actis Act partnering to purchase ventilators, Vodafone partnering to provide educational curriculum to school students for free, and AstraZeneca donating tests and PPE, and indeed partnering on a public awareness campaign. So, you know, I think we are excited about Egypt. I'm just going to say that. I think it's a really exciting market. It's really dynamic. We've seen a lot of interest. And I think now we really want to see how we can build in this ICT sector. As Dr. Radwan mentions, there's no British flag on her presentation just yet. So we think we can do a lot better on that. So let me talk a little bit about ICT. I mean, in terms of the UK-Egypt commercial relationship, we've seen a very strong investment over a number of years, particularly in the communication sector. So a large chunk of that coming through Vodafone Egypt, with significant investments over the last 20 plus years, and employing around 8,000 Egyptians. And we've seen that commitment and that investment continue, including with the recent purchase and acquisition of new spectrum and some supporting around that. And we also look forward to mobile money being the new booming business in line with the Egyptian government's intent. And I think for me, what I'm seeing is a great, really exciting growth sector in Egypt, which is already a really exciting market in its own right. And I'm very passionate about the opportunities we've got to connect UK capabilities across the ICT sector and really build those partnerships that Dr. Redwan was talking about. And so when I think about UK capability in ICT, I see, world-class, world-beating capabilities, it's like audio-visual, e-commerce, telecoms, of course, software, computer and cloud services. We've got artificial intelligence, we've got augmented and virtual reality, fintech, the Internet of Things, smart city, cybersecurity. We are, I think, we have a very broad and robust effort around ICT, strongly supported by our UK government. And so just to give a little flavour of the potential, I think, for building stronger partnerships in this sector. In the UK, we've got around 100,000 software companies operating. Our data centre is the largest in Europe. We are currently the largest market in Europe for virtual and augmented reality. And we've got government investment really to grow that artificial intelligence and our data-driven economy. We've got London as one of the world's leading financial centres and a global hub for fintech innovation and disruption, if you like that kind of thing. We've also got technology and services linked to the Internet of Things, which are growing really fast in the UK, and particularly in relation to applications in sectors like healthcare, energy, transport, and manufacturing. And we've got a world-class artificial intelligence ecosystem, home to around 1/3 of all AI companies in Europe. So look, I think just to conclude, and I hope it's come across pretty clearly in my comments today, I do believe there's so much scope here for us to bring those UK capabilities to bear in support of Egypt's ICT 2030 strategy, and really to build this strong partnership, co-create the future together, and support Egypt's ambition to build digital Egypt. My trade and investment team in Cairo are poised and ready to act to really help connect the dots here between opportunities and expertise. And I think we have a really important moment right now to expand these partnerships that we've been building over many years, and to connect more UK and Egyptian companies in pursuit of this cleaner, greener, more resilient, more tech-driven economy that we're all aiming to build and to live in. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Emma, for a very, very exciting presentation. I've seen the excitement not only in your voice, but also in the facts that show the great collaboration between the UK and Egypt. I've noted the industries of focus, including energy, including infrastructure, education, healthcare, and ICT. I've noted also the focus on AI, and I will start first with a question for you. What does it really take? What does it take to have the British flag on Dr. Radwan's slide? How can we make sure that we progress in a way that we establish this relationship and partnership also in the AI space where she is leading?
Yeah, well, look, from my perspective, I really want to hear what Dr. Redwan thinks about this as well. So I think from my perspective, events like this today are part of how we build awareness, how we build connectivity between our companies. You know, and business, whether it's artificial or not, actually it comes down to people. And I think the strong links that we've got between the UK and Egypt in this people relationships is really important. We can do more in this space, and I think helping UK companies better understand the drive, the strong drive that we're seeing in Egypt to build and strengthen this sector, and similarly to work with the Egyptian government to really help to promote the expertise and the capability we've got in the UK. I think we really start to see quite quickly some of those sweet spots where we can match opportunity and supply. And create opportunities to bring potential partners together to talk about what we're each doing and to spot those opportunities. And that's not just for those established companies. I think I would also say, building on the really strong education links that we have between our two countries, really getting into the space around research and development and how we're creating that future together. So I think there's a lot of work to do. But we are enthused. I think we do have a really strong offer, and we're really excited to build that together.
Okay, that is great. Before hearing Sally's input on that, I would like to ask the audience if they have any questions to please put it for us in the question and answers section. Dr. Redwan, over to you, please, to get your view and on what's really needed to have this flag, the British flag on your slides.
Well, I think, Emma, if you'll allow me to use first names, I go by Sally, by the way. Emma said it all. I think more events like this, and of course I have to extend my deepest thanks to the British Egyptian Business Association and to you, Hoda, and to Emma for giving us her time today, and for the great partnership we've had so far, and the enthusiasm that's really coming through. I mean, if you think about it, the ICT sector in Egypt really isn't that old, and AI even younger. So we're trying. We've just started. The fact that we jumped 55 places on the Readiness Index in a year is quite encouraging. So hopefully we'll continue in that trajectory. But I do think it's really people coming together And I did a 15-minute presentation today. I normally present Egypt's AI strategy in at least 45 minutes, because then we can drill down into the different projects, the different areas. I can show examples of projects that are currently ongoing, existing opportunities for partnerships. But really, I mean, Emma talked about research and innovation as well. And I have to say that many of the projects we currently have, also with the flags that you saw, are partnerships with startups, with applied research organizations, and so on, where we've identified an area that is of mutual interest to both parties, and we decided that this is an interesting problem for us to work on solving together. So we find this to be probably one of the most fruitful types of partnerships, because really both parties are invested, and both parties have skin in the game, and they really want to make it happen. So happy to participate in more and more of these types of events, happy to have one-on-one discussions with interested parties, be it companies, research centers, startups, whatever you like, and happy to spend as much time as possible elaborating on the details of the strategy and implementation.
Fantastic. I would like to go now to the questions that I can see in the question and answer sessions. I would start with a question from Dr. Ala Garad. It is addressed actually to Dr. Amr Talat, His Excellency Dr. Amr Talat. I will put the question forward to you, Sally, and see if you can cover it, please. Your Excellency, thank you for the informative session. This is Dr. Ala Garad from Portsmouth University. I wonder if the capacity building covers academic programs as well, or only professional courses. Do you have collaboration at the moment with any UK-based universities?
That's a great question, and thank you for that. No, of course not. The presentation I gave today is a very short snapshot. I feel almost embarrassed that it was so short, but no, it does include academic partnerships, of course. And as far as I know, we don't have any partnerships with UK universities yet, unfortunately. But we have several initiatives where we partner with universities, like, for example, if you remember the top of the capacity building pyramid that I showed, it had EPITA there, which is one of the French grandes écoles that is specialized in ICT and specifically in AI and data science. And we're working with them on a TOT program for a 9-month postgraduate diploma in AI that's going to start early next year. We also have other initiatives within the ministry, part of them to do with AI, part of them for ICT at large. So we have an initiative called DEBI, Digital Egypt Builders Initiative. Bit of a mouthful, but it's a very interesting initiative where we offer professional master's degree programs in different fields, like AI, like cybersecurity, like digital arts, and so on and so forth. So for that, we're definitely open to partnering with universities in the UK. We're also building a new dedicated university for ICT, kind of Egypt's answers to MIT, in the new administrative capital. And for that, we're also seeking academic partnerships. So yeah, definitely the opportunity is open for academic institutions as well.
Fantastic. And I can see a comment back from Dr. Ala suggesting that he would like to take this initiative further with his colleagues in the university. So I will leave it to you and the ministry to discuss that. I have actually a comment from Dr. Taha Khalid. I will read the comment. Again, it's addressing Dr. Amr Talat. While I would like to congratulate His Excellency Dr. Amr Talat and his good team on the great results achieved in the digitization on all sectors last year and what is expected next financial year, particularly on the GDP, I would like to suggest having some sort of partnership with one of our partnership in the area of IT audit, which is very much needed in the financial sector as well as many other sectors worldwide. I would like to confirm that personally, from my experience working in the Egyptian market and other markets, the IT audit is indeed required. So again, I'll leave it to you, Sally, if you would like to comment, or we pass the question over to His Excellency Dr. Amr's office to get in contact directly with Dr. Taha. Over to you, please.
Yes, I think that's what we'll do. I do agree that it's an important area. So yeah, if that's okay, I'll pass that on to my colleagues and we'll follow up.
Fantastic. Any intervention from your side, Emma? Any other comments based on the questions that we had so far? Any recommendations, suggestions?
Well, look, I would just pick up the question around academic research and partnerships. Now, we may not have anything directly in this ICT space at the moment, but we do have over 80 partnerships between Egyptian and UK educational institutions. And so I think there's a very rich platform there for us to build on and to think, actually, how do we take those existing partnerships and indeed build new ones to really work in this ICT space. And I think for me, one of the fabulous things about the UK ecosystem is that there is a very strong commitment at the academic level, but also to commercialize those innovations that come through research. And so we have that long tradition of commercialization, and I think that offers again some really exciting opportunities for us to partner in this field.
Fantastic. Dr. Sally, any closing remarks from your side? I don't see any further questions. So I would like to go for some closing remarks, please.
Thank you very much. And this is actually very timely because I do have to go. But again, thank you very much to BEBA and to our sponsors, and also to Emma and to you, Hoda, for the wonderful session. I do hope that it will be the beginning of a very fruitful partnership with some UK companies and academic institutions. So looking forward to continuing the discussion offline, hopefully, and to more and more of these events. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Emma, over to you, please, for some closing remarks.
Well, just to echo Sally's, actually, I think she's pretty much said it all. Just to reiterate, we have a trade and investment team at the British Embassy in Cairo, and the easiest possible way to get hold of them if you want to follow up on this is to email our email address, which is dit.africa@fcdo.gov.uk, and we would happily have that circulated to everyone on this session. But just to wind up and say thank you so much, and like Sally, I think I'm really excited about the opportunities here and the potential for us to, in a year's time, be sitting here talking about all these fabulous partnerships we've worked on, and to see that UK flag on that presentation as an illustration of how we put these words into practice.
Thank you very much. And I was due to give my closing remarks. However, there is a comment or an ask coming from Mr. Siva Singh from UK company Scala, and they are delivering training to doctors in Egypt under UHI, and they have an IT solution for doctors revalidation, which has been very successful with the NHS. So I'll leave it to you, Dr. Sally, and for the office of His Excellency the Minister to put it forward to the right parties for discussion. From my side, I would like to thank BEBA and EBCC for a fantastic session, very informative, very energizing session. Thank you very much for the speaker, distinguished speaker, Emma and Sally, without any doctor or miss or something, if you would allow me. Thank you very much for the audience for staying with us and for the very nice interaction. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Bye-bye.